I'm Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. It's now been 20 years since Barry Switzer last was on the recruiting trail, but his stories have not paled. The tales remain vivid of how Switzer collected the talent that built the Sooner football dynasty. I sat down with Switzer a couple of days ago to reminisce about his days as one of college football's most dynamic recruiters.
You said the worst thing is when you lose a guy, when you don't get a guy you really wanted. Who gnaws at you the most? The guy you really thought you could get?
The worst mistake I ever made in recruiting was I took it for granted that Turner Gill was ours. Turner told me, don't worry about Coach, go get the lighting kid in Tulsa. I want good players around me. Turner Gill has committed us for all throughout his recruitment. He lived in Fort Worth, Texas. My God, it's 2 hours down the road. Lincoln, Nebraska's hard to get to, you know. It's cold up there. Turner liked it here. He fit in our scheme. Coming all along, his parents, everything. Then 11th hour, Nebraska gets him, and it just kills me that I didn't go be with him the night before. I was up there fighting for some other kid. I should have just stopped and backed up and said, here's a quarterback that can make a difference. See, and I didn't let that happen to Jamel Holloway, because when I saw film, Merv Johnson and I looked at film of Holloway playing in the Coliseum for the city championship. There were 70,000 people in the stadium. And Merv called me in his office and said, I want you to see this kid. And I sat down there and looked at him. I said, we want him. Let's go get him. Let's do everything we can to get that kid. We were recruiting Eric Mitchell. We were recruiting Charles Thompson was going to come the next year. We had some good players. Troy Aikman, you know, we had some outstanding players here. But when I saw Jamel Holloway, I knew that that's what we wanted, and that's what I wanted in Turner Gill. But so I didn't make the mistake. I made sure that I lived with Jamel, that even though he knew we were recruiting so many other players and what was here, that I convinced him that he was the guy. He was the guy we wanted.
Who was the toughest guy to get? The guy that you did get, but you had to work the hardest on?
Oh, my gosh, there were a lot of them. I think Ricky Bryan, and we lost Ricky this year, tragic, he just died too young, heart attack. But Ricky Bryan was an Aggie all the way. He was going to OSU. He's a farm boy from Tater Hill. He had 100 cattle. He lived out on a farm in Coweta, and there's a place called Tater Hill. It's a crossroad. You got to live over that part of the country to know where Tater Hill is. And Jack, his daddy, is a truck driver. Drove twice a week to Guyman, deliver stock, and Sandra was a great cook. She could cook that chicken fried steak and gravy. And I love to go over and eat. But Merv and I worked hard on him, but he was going to be an Aggie. And 2 nights before signing date, he was going to OSU, and I'd been to his home 3 times. And I said, Merv, he's too good a player. He's going to be a great player. Let's go back and see him one more time. But I took a different approach this time. I went into his home, and I went in there to challenge him. I went in there to really put the hat on him. I went in there, and I'll never forget, I'm sitting on the hearth, and the fire's going behind me, and I'm about to burn up. I'm sweating, and Ricky's sitting over, and Jack in his big chair, and I'm looking at Ricky, and I'm saying, Ricky, I want to tell you something. You go at LSU, you'll be a great player up there. You'll be the best player when you walk on that campus. You'll be the best player that's there, no question about it. But let me tell you something. You'll always wake up every day the rest of your life and wonder where you play at Oklahoma, because you won't be the best player walk on my campus. You'll have to earn it. You'll have to prove it. Every day you'll have to prove it. You'll have to fight and be competitive to play. And I said, go on up there. It's easy. You can play for them tomorrow. But you'll wake up the rest of your life and ask yourself whether you could play at Oklahoma. Boy, he bristled up. I can see him. He wanted to whip my ass so bad. And Merv sitting over there knowing that, hey, this is the last shot. This is the only chance you got is this way. You can't sell anymore how good he's going to fit in the program and what kind of great school we got and what we've accomplished and what we're going to do and all that. It came down to putting a hat on him and just challenging his manhood. And I'm glad he was such a great competitor. He was such a great competitor, and I knew he was, that he took the challenge. He took the challenge because the next day Merv said he called and he says, he's coming. So yeah, that was the one I think, you look back, Marcus Dupree and all, all of them are tough, the great ones, the superstars. Elvis was tough, Miami, Florida, Central High School, Miami Central. I went down on National Signing Day, and I'll never forget getting him off at some Popeye chicken place, and I'm sitting in the booth, me and Gene Hoshaver. Elvis never said many words, and I'd look at Gene, I says, he can't hear, can he? I know he doesn't talk, but he can't hear. And I'd look at Elvis and laugh, he'd laugh and giggle. I said, Elvis, let me tell you something. Why would I be here if I didn't want you? This is National Signing Day, and I came to Miami, Florida. I'm not anywhere else. You're the guy I want. You're going to be a great player for me. I want you so badly that I got on a plane and I flew to Miami to be with you when I should be probably back somewhere getting someone, because you're talking about going to Michigan and the Big Ten and all these other schools. Let me ask you something. Look around this room, and there wasn't anybody else in this. It was early in the morning. There's nobody in there eating chicken yet. And Elvis looked around and said, you don't see anybody, do you? And he says, no. And he says, especially Bo Schembechler. Bo's not here, is he? He said, I'm here. Bo's not here. You don't mean as much to Bo as you mean to me. we signed him. And so recruiting is, you can't be every place at the same time. You got to select your guys that you really you got to fire your best shot at, and you hope your best shot hits home and you get him. But, it's, you got to know you got a good chance or not before you do that, waste that trip, because I wasted it with Lighting. Lighting ended up starting for Texas as a freshman at linebackers, 6'4", 240. And Turner Gill goes to Nebraska and beats my ass 3 years. So not only I did not have him, he's playing against me.